What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another episode of Just Jets, episode number 273. Excited to be hanging out with you for another episode of the program. Today, well, later today, is schedule release day. And as of recording this, no, I don't have the schedule yet. I'm hoping to eventually get the schedule and break it for you guys again this year. I'm working on it, but I don't have it yet. So what I wanted to do, since I don't have the schedule, and the schedule is the big thing that we're talking about right now, is talk about my wish list or things that I would like to see for the New York Jets. And I guess we'll start with what we know and then get into what I would like to see. So starting with the what we know, the Jets are playing the Denver Broncos in week 6 in London. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the London games. Let me start with things that I do like about it. Number one, games early in the day. You wake up, you have breakfast while watching the game, some eggs and bacon usually. I did that last year on the Blackstone. Had some mimosas while watching. Like that experience is good. And I want to give a shout out to the London, England, and Ireland and Europe. There's a lot of Jet fans over there. So I am happy that they get to see their team. That aspect I like. I don't want, and there are a good portion of people, in Europe who watch the channel, and I don't want it to seem like I'm have anything against them. I don't. The part that I think is tough is, number one, it's a really far travel for the team, right? Going overseas, they're flying. It's a 7-8 hour flight. They're playing in a vastly different time zone. Yeah, they can go early and get used to it. But also, too, the season ticket holders, they lose a home game this year because of it. It's a Jets home game that, they were supposed to have 9. They'll have 8, which is, the same number of home and away games. It's not like they're playing less home games than away, which I guess you could look at as a positive. But I feel for the fans who shell out thousands and thousands of dollars every single year for this team that hasn't made the playoffs in 15 years. They keep raising the prices on it. The product on the field is garbage, and they lose a game because of it. So I feel for those who are season ticket holders, but what I do like about it, the European fans get to see the Jets, and there are a lot of Jet fans over there, and it's a nice early start. Now, what I would like to see happen this year is something they didn't do a year ago. They didn't take the bye after the London trip. So last year they played the Minnesota Vikings early in the season in week 5. And instead they came back and were going to play the Buffalo Bills in week 6, which they did. And if you remember, that was the first game of the Jeff Ulbrich era. Robert Saleh got fired after the week 5 game against the Minnesota Vikings after a 2-3 start. And it was a frustrating time just all of last year. But they were claiming that they didn't want to do the bye that early. They wanted to have the bye a little bit later. With the Jets going to London a little bit later, I wonder if they would be okay with taking a week 7 bye. Is it still a touch on the earlier side? Yes. But I think that's something that they should strongly consider, is taking the bye week after the London trip. They pushed it off later in the year last year. It didn't do them any favors. I get the logic behind the thought, but it didn't work last year. Let's shake it up. Get back to taking the bye after the London trip. Hopefully you are much better after the bye than what the Robert Saleh era Jets were, who were unfortunately pretty horrendous after the bye week. So let's get to some stuff that we don't know that I would like to see happen for the New York Jets. And maybe this is just me being too soft, or I'm looking for the easy way out, I guess, for this team. Call me whatever you want, but I want the Jets to open with a quote-unquote softer opponent. There is no easy game in the NFL, but I don't want the Jets having start their season against Buffalo, start their season against the Ravens or Cincinnati or any of these teams who are expected to be, really quality football teams in 2025. I would rather play. The rumor is Jets Panthers. As of recording, that has not been confirmed. I would sign up for Jets Panthers week 1 on 1 p.m. start time at MetLife Stadium. I would sign up for that. Give me the Browns in week 1. If you're going to play on the road, give me a team like the Saints, who probably be having to start rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck, who's a second-round pick. Give me one of those teams. Again, last year, they started against the San Francisco 49ers. Tough Monday night game out of the gate. Year prior, they started on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. They won that game, but tough opponent right out of the gate. Is it too much to ask for a little bit of a softer landing spot to get a new regime off and running, right? Like, new quarterback for this team, new head coach, rookie GM. I would like it if they don't have to be like, hey, you got to go up to Buffalo and play against the Bills, who, for whatever reason, in September, they feel like they just come out absolutely flying to start the year and drop like 40 points in their home opener. And, you have to listen to shout 25 times because they score 1 million points. And like, that's just not how you want to start the 2025 season. So yeah, I guess I'm maybe down on the Jets to an extent and want them to get their footing going early in the year, but I guess sue me for that one. Minimal primetime games is next up on the wish list. I don't want the Jets to play 6 standalone games. They played a ton, and I mean a ton of standalone games. There are very few Sunday 1 o'clock games for this team last year. I want to go under the radar. Again, give me all the Sunday at 1 o'clock games. My guess, though, is that there'll be the standalone game in London against the Broncos in week 6. I'll say a Thursday night game and a Monday night game. So they'll get 3, which is still a decent amount, but really 2.5, I guess, right? Because it's a standalone game, but not necessarily like a night game in London. So take that however you want. And then for Thursday night, I could see Jets Pats. That was a Thursday night game last year. Monday Night Football, I could see them playing like Pittsburgh, especially if Rodgers comes back. I know it's, he hasn't made a decision yet, and the schedule's coming out tomorrow, so I don't think we're getting the Monday night Jets Pittsburgh to start the year, the Rodgers revenge game, so to speak. But I do think, big market teams, I could see either Dallas or Pittsburgh being a game that's either in the 425 slot or in prime time one way or another. But let's keep those primetime games to a minimum, please. I don't want to see 5 primetime games for this 2025 New York Jets game. And then I have a selfish one, if you'll indulge me here. Why not? It's my podcast, right? You're listening. You want to come listen to me, right? Selfishly, no early games on November 23rd. Now, why am I saying that? Well, I'm getting married on November 22nd. And if there was ever a week for a bye, if they're not going to do the bye week in week 7, how about a little week 12 bye, just completely off? That'd be great. Or if there was ever a time for a Thursday night game or a Monday Night Football game, I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. And listen, like if there is a Sunday at 1 o'clock game, I know it's not going to be, the 9:30 game, thank God. But if there's a Sunday at 1 o'clock game, I'll be there for a post game. I'll watch the game. I'll be a little beat up, I'm sure, right? Like I won't be in the best of tip-top shape recording coming on. I might be, a little hungover, a little tired, but I'll be there for you. I always am. My fiance, or at that point, wife, Taylor, she knows the drill. She gets it. And her father's a huge Jet fan. As a future father-in-law would be right there with me, I'm sure, watching the game. I'm pumped up, obviously, for the wedding. And it would just be easier for us because we got, people like Jeremy coming in from out of state, and Green Bean, and Ryan, and there's other Jets creators who are invited to the wedding too that I'm close with. And I can't wait for it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But if there was ever a time where they could give me a game that's on a Monday or a Thursday Night Football, I'd be very happy with a primetime game that week for my selfish reasons. So they can have, how about this? Outside of the London game and outside of week 12, everything else is 1 o'clock And then in week 12, you either give me a Thursday night, Monday night, or a Sunday or late Sunday afternoon. Sunday Night Football or late Sunday afternoon, 4:25 kickoff for selfish reasons. That would be my absolute dream. Let me know in the comments what you are hoping for this Jets schedule. Hopefully I can get it out to you as early as humanly possible. Again, like last year, that was awesome to break the story. Hope to do it again this year. But as of recording this episode on Tuesday afternoon, I don't have it. But let's get into your voicemails now. We have a few topics that I want to bring up. Our first call comes from Matt. He's calling in from Austin, Texas, and he wants to talk some Arian Smith.
Mr. O'Leary, this is Matt from Austin, Texas. Had a couple things for you. First one, talking about wide receiver and defensive tackle, an obvious concern that I agree with. I'm really hoping that post-June 1st cuts and training camp cuts are a place that we can kind of fill in some of those gaps and be in a better spot once the season rolls around by snagging a few veterans off of teams with really deep rosters. And, of course, through trades as well. You had mentioned Romeo Doubs. I was curious your thoughts on Dontavion Wicks, who's also in that Green Bay wide receiver room. I think maybe with more opportunity, he could provide some value and maybe make more of those opportunities by, being on the Jets. So just curious your thoughts on him. And then second, I get to go and do media stuff at the Senior Bowl every year.
Awesome.
And I wanted to give Jets fans a little peace of mind. I got to speak with Arian Smith. I got to watch him a bunch throughout that week of practice. He really jumped out to me. Not only high character, high energy, winning a lot of his one-on-one matchups with his speed and even contested catches or something that stuck out to me. So hopefully that gave me a lot of optimism as a Jets fan. I hope it gives some of the other Jets fans out there listening a little more positive outlook on him, even though he was an early pick selection when he could have been more in the 6th or 7th round. And then last but not least, I can't come on here without asking you about your Texas country music love. Who are you trying to see? Who you've been jamming to lately? I appreciate all your time. As always, go Jets.
Man, I absolutely love how you ended that. I'll start with the Jets stuff, and then I'll get into some music stuff at the end. Things you just absolutely love to say. All right, so Dontavion Wicks is an interesting name to bring up via trade right now. I think similar to what I mentioned with Romeo Doubs, same for wide receiver room, right? And just with more opportunity, maybe it would make sense for, I'm not talking a lot, but I'm like a day 3 pick, so to speak, via trade would be my thought process there. I appreciate the comments on Arian Smith. I really do, because contrary to popular belief, I do want Arian Smith to be good. I don't hate the kid. I just genuinely have my concerns about, where he was drafted and what kind of player he's going to be. And, I mentioned the drops because that's a concern that I have. But if Arian Smith is to be a good player in this league, it's going to be because he has excellent speed. And it's hard to teach speed. So that is something that he has in his corner, and something that I believe is going to set him apart, right? Like, I just think that is going to be, like, again, if he's to hit at this level, that's going to be the biggest reason why, is because his speed is just, it's hard to match that. It just really is. I think he has to get a little bit stronger at the line of scrimmage, just because he's a little bit slender. And if he gets bumped, that might be tough. But again, for me, biggest thing with Arian Smith, speed. If the drop rate goes down, can he be an effective role player like a 4th wide receiver on this team? If yes, then that's a win in the 4th round. And I hope that's what it is. Who am I listening to right now in Texas country music? All right, I know not everyone's a huge country fan. I'm a bit of a nerd with music. When I tell people that I like country music, they usually go to, so you listen, what do you think about like Morgan Wallen? I'm like, that's not really what I'm talking about here. I've been listening to my favorite band of all time. My favorite country band of all time is the Turnpike Troubadours, and they released an album about I bet at this point about a month ago. So that's been in my rotation very heavy right now, Matt. I'm seeing Flatland Cavalry. They're coming to Long Island in early October. I'm seeing 49 Winchester this summer. I don't know if 49 Winchester is a Texas country band though. They might be. No, they're from Virginia, actually. But those are those I've been listening to a ton right now. I'm just pulling up my Spotify. I've been mixing in some Treaty Oak Revival. Actually, has been pretty high up on my list, and Evan Honer. Those are some names that have been heavy in my rotation recently. I'm a huge Jets fan. I do this channel, but I love getting into this other conversation, and this music is something I'm really passionate about. So, Matt, I appreciate the call in. Let me know who you're listening to. Maybe give me some artists that I should be checking out as well. Neil from Jersey City is up next. He wants to talk maybe what's the Jets' best case scenario for next year.
Hey, what's up, Matt? This is Neil from Jersey City.
What's up, Neil?
Hope everything's going well. I wanted to check in with you this week to ask, what do you think the best case scenario is for in terms of like what their ceiling is? Like, is that like a playoff berth, like an exit in the wild card round, let's say? I mean, with Fields, it seems like I like the fact that we got Fields, right? And I feel like he was, out of everyone in free agency, he was kind of like that lottery ticket where it's like, listen, he's shown flashes, maybe if you put him in the right situation, he could really, get some consistency. And so I'm wondering what what you feel like the ceiling is here if everything clicks with Fields. And yeah, I'm also just wondering, like, what do you think would be good indicators to grade Glenn on in his first year? And because I look at this team, for me, I just don't, I'm trying to understand really like how it ranks talent-wise compared to the rest of the league. Because I just, obviously the offensive line on paper looks like a strong point, but there's other areas, particularly receiver, sounds like maybe, interior defensive line, right? There's holes in the roster. So, I personally, I just want to see a functional offense. Like, I feel like for the last God knows how many years, we've just seen so much bad, whether it be quarterback play or just bad offensive play in general. But then again, I don't know if that's a really good indicator of Glenn in the sense that he's not, calling the plays, right? So, certainly he gets some of the, criticism if they don't perform well, but it's not all on him, right? So I'm just curious, like, what are some things that you think would be strong indicators to kind of weigh his success this year? Thanks so much.
Yeah, really good question, I think, here. So for me, best case scenario for the team, I think, is a wild card. Now, that's not my expectation. I'm not going into this season thinking, the Jets are, 9-10 win team. They'll get the 6th or 7th seed and be a wild card team. It'd be nice, but that's not, just truthfully, that's not where I am. But if you're talking about if things with Justin Fields hits, and that would be, still being one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league, but he would have to probably complete close to 65% of his passes, be a top 17 passer, like maybe a top half of the league passer. Right now, I don't think that's where he is as a passer. I think he's in the bottom of the starting quarter. Like, if you're looking at all 32 quarterbacks and where he ranks as a passer, he's probably bottom 5-ish. When you add in his rushing ability, that potentially brings him up a little bit in the overall rankings, if you want to look at it that way. But I think he would have to probably have, what do you want to call it, 30 combined passing and rushing touchdowns, and limit turnovers. Fumble numbers have to go down, interceptions in the single digits. I'm not saying 4,000 passing yards, because I don't think he would have to do that in order for the Jets to have success, but it can't be 2,200 passing yards. You probably have to throw for 3,600 and rush for another 800 at least on top of that to get the 30 overall touchdowns. And if that happens, then you're probably getting to the 9 wins, wild cards to get you in there. For how to grade Glenn, some things that I'm going to be looking for is the team showing up every week? Because I think there were points last year, or just in general during the Robert Saleh era, where they just looked like blatantly unprepared. So don't get blown out often, right? Like they're going to play some really tough teams, Buffalo, New England's much improved. Any divisional game is tough, but then you have Baltimore and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And, are you keeping pace with your division? So can you be like 500 in your division? That'd be really nice. I don't know if I'm going to predict that. Can you be competitive in all your games? Sure. Like you're probably going to lose to a team like Buffalo or the Ravens, right? But any given Sunday, as we know, anyone could be beat. But can you be in those games? Can you, give Buffalo a run for their money? Can you give Baltimore a run for their money? Can you, maybe out coach a Mike McDaniel or, someone else on your schedule who's maybe has some question marks at the head coaching spot? Can you show that you're competent? Are they moving in the right direction offensively? Are there signs of growth for some of these younger guys? Those are going to be things that I'll be looking for to see how Aaron Glenn is doing overall. Let's go to PG. Thanks again, Neil. Let's go to PG out on Long Island.
Hello, Matt O'Leary, PG from Long Island here. Thank you, as always, for taking my call. I want to talk about a couple of players on the roster tonight. Starting with Michael Clemens. If you recall last year, when you put out your 53-man roster, I gave you a little pushback on that. And I just want to say right now that I was wrong.
Okay, I like that. Some self-awareness.
Say that, but keep them off the roster this year. Second thing I want to say is that Armin Membu, the more I hear about this kid, the better I like him. I don't know if you saw the story where he didn't understand about scholarships. And when he found out that he could play football, have his college paid for, and take that burden off his parents, he was like, he went to work. He redid his body and became the beast that he is today. It's a great kid. Love that he's on the job. Third player I want to talk about is Arian Smith. So, listen, controversial speedster. We know that. We all want him to work out. But I was listening to the podcast, and it almost made me swallow my cigar when I heard this guy compare him, saying, coming out of college, he compares him to Stephen Hill. So let's just hope that's not the case. And then last guy I want to talk about is Byron Cowart. He's one of our low-cost, high-upside defensive tackles. And I saw an article from Nania. This guy's 29 years old, drafted by New England. Last year played with Chicago. But in limited playing time last year, he had very good stats, above average both in tackle and run defense and passing defense. So I think it's somebody to watch out for that might actually end up being next to Quinnen. Your thoughts on anybody who has stood out, any kind of surprising picks, any surprising from the thing? And as always, go Jets.
PG, look, I really appreciate you coming on and saying, hey, I was wrong. I gave you some pushback on Michael Clemens and I was wrong. And that, I've been wrong plenty of times about players, plenty of times. But what I don't normally get is people who push back, or not that PG would ever do this. He's a stand-up guy. But we get some people who get pretty nasty in the comments. And if I end up being proven right on something, they're not coming back and apologizing for it later. So some accountability from our guy, PG. Thank you, PG. I appreciate that. And, I've been wrong about guys. A great example is Quincy Williams was someone I was very hard on when he came to the Jets, and he's been great the last 2 years, and I'm happy that he is. And, I've been, I guess, hard on Arian Smith, and I hope he also is someone that I'm talking about 2 years from now saying, hey, I was wrong about the Arian Smith pick. The Jets got it right. He's actually a really useful piece in this offense. I didn't know that Armand Membu story, but I'm not really all that surprised by it because he does seem like a stand-up character kind of guy from everything that I've read and heard about him, which I think is important to add guys like that to your team. And I'm excited to watch Membu. I think he's a good kid. He'll be easy to root for, but I think he's going to be a damn good football player too. So I like that. And good call out on the defensive tackles that we should be looking for, because it's not a guarantee for any of these guys on the interior defensive line who could be starting next to Quinnen Williams. The guy that I really want to see is Leonard Taylor. I thought he showed a lot of promise as an undrafted rookie last year, and I hope he takes another step in his developments. Let's close out the show with Peter from Hudson Valley. He wants to talk some potential cap casualties.
Hey, man. It's Peter calling from the beautiful Hudson Valley on this late Monday. Calling in this week with obviously much better weather outside, thank God.
Yes.
And hoping you're feeling better, because I saw you
getting there.
are suffering some allergy issues at the moment. So hopefully that will subside soon. Just seeing the news late today that Arian Smith has signed his rookie deal. We use Mason Taylor as the only draftee unsigned, but I think that will happen fairly quickly. Rookie minicamp seemed a success. One note there that I wanted to mention. I would love to see Giovanni Williams, the younger brother of Quincy and Quinnen, maybe brought back during OTAs and such. If he impressed enough during that rookie minicamp, it'd be nice to see all three brothers together on the same team. With the fact that they do have to still sign Mason Taylor, just a small note, once they do, they have to make one other roster cut, otherwise they're going to be over the 90-man limit. So someone else will have to go bye-bye. When it comes to the roster, as it's constructed right now, it's obviously taking shape, but that's going to be my main question for this week. There's still obviously going to be finessing and tweaking the roster between now and, say, training camp, with June 1st coming up fairly soon, and teams making cuts most likely after June 1st for cap relief and such. Do you think, besides the obvious moves of maybe signing a Zadarius Smith or a Jadeveon Clowney to give an edge presence, maybe finding someone else for the back end of the, secondary at strong safety, maybe another wide receiver like Romeo Dobbs or someone like that. Do you think any other team out there is going to have someone shake loose post-June 1st that could help the Jets? Like, I don't know whose cap situation is so dire that they obviously still need to cut someone, but when a lot of the other teams start signing their rookies, they may need to, free up money. So my question for this week is, I just wanted to see your thoughts on, anyone else being freed up for the Jets post June 1st. And since you guys are going to be going over live on Talking Jets, the schedule release, saw the one leak that the Jets may play the Broncos week 6 in London as a Jets home game. So hopefully that will be the case. And maybe get some breaking news again from you this year on schedule leaks. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate the call. I hope I'm able to get it out for you guys. I'm working on it. Just haven't gotten anything yet. Cap casualties. Interesting. So I took a look. It's, in my opinion, it's hard to see, especially other teams. Like, okay, who are some guys that they're going to cut? But looking at teams who are maybe closer to the cap ceiling, who can either be looking to move guys via trade or maybe cut. Now, again, I'm not necessarily saying that these guys are going to be traded, but I looked at the Bills and the Rams, two teams, pretty veteran heavy, that have some cap issues. I'm wondering if AJ Epinesa, who's a defensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills, or Tyler Higbee, who's a tight end, would be a cap casualty. And my reasoning behind it is, Epinesa has been okay. He had 6 sacks last year, and that number looks nice, but his pressure rate was very, very low, a career low for him. And it's a much more crowded edge room. You know, you bring in Joey Bosa, and they made some, you know, other moves on the edge position. As for the Rams, they draft Terrence Ferguson in the second round. And I just wonder, like, would they be interested in trying to clear that cap space and use that money somewhere else because they got some younger guys in there who can maybe give you more? And again, I'm not necessarily going to sit here and guarantee Epinesa and Tyler Higbee are cut candidates, but to me, those are two guys that stood out from teams who don't have the best of cap situations that they might be interested in moving, and maybe they're more trade candidates than cut candidates, but we'll see. You never know. These things get weird, and sometimes good players do end up getting cut because of cap situations. So it'll be something we keep a close eye on, and I think we'll have a better idea in July. You know, going into, you know, July and August, going through training camp. But we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.